Welcome to Marketing. Grab some coffee and let's talk about what's working in marketing, who these strategies are designed for, and how to be customer-centric while we do it. Good morning. This is Leanne with Marketing. I'm joined here today with Oleg, and he's going to tell us so much about his amazing background and talent. Go ahead and let us know what you're up to and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, Leanne. Thanks for having me on this podcast. My name is Oleg again, and in the last 3 or 4 years, I've went through a few amazing marketing results. One of those, which you might have heard already, is Aspect Health. Recently, we grew from 200,000 ARR to 2.5 million ARR in just 9 months. That's an amazing result. A lot of marketers are buzzing now around this case, messaging me. So yeah, that's my background. Few really successful marketing case studies, and I'm happy to share them.
Awesome. I'm so excited. That type of growth is really what we all dream of, right? That's when we wake up and we go to work and we're like, okay, I hope today I get this kind of traction. So, you didn't get there by accident though. And I want to make sure that, we really capture your big strategic marketing thing that you do, that you would just shout to the world that they need to understand in order to even think about getting results like this.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in marketing for 17 years, and for a long time I was looking for some hacks, for some tricks, or I was thinking maybe it's just all about luck. But what I really found out that the only thing that in the end produces more or less stable success is systems. Sounds obvious, sounds simple, but honestly, with this 2.5 million ARR case, or my previous, when we grew from 8 million revenue to 45 million revenue in 2 years, that was all just about systems. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. 17 years of experience gives me some advance, of course, but again, every time I come to a new role, I always start with building small or large systems.
Yeah, I love it. Systems thinking is definitely one of the ways that I think we should all approach anything. Looking at the holistic entity that we're dealing with. We're never dealing with just one small tactic. It's never really just about, oh, well, I put this social post with this hashtag. Like that's not going to make you the real money. It might make you like a couple bucks, but it's not a real strategy. So when you think about how that interacts with the overall thing and you look at the systems and the processes and how to scale it, I think that there's a lot of power there. Could you kind of walk us through a story or an anecdote where you saw that your systems thinking and your processes really were the differentiator?
Yeah, the case which I already mentioned with Aspect Health is one of those, for me personally, amazing results which I achieved using systems. All right, starting from like I like thinking about systems even from about small squads in your team, when you first find constraints when we first find constraints which prevent your startup from growing, or from finding a market fit, or from building the unit economics you want, or from growing, scaling. And then you think, which systems I need to build in order to solve those constraints. So one of constraints which 95% of startups have is just not having the correct analytics. All right? Sounds like crazy, but the amount of founders who tell me yeah, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. And I'm asking okay, what's your metrics, this metric, that metric? And they're like, they're probably somewhere between, or they're around, or I don't know. But how are you planning your strategy? How are you going to do something without knowing where you are at now? For me, it's nonsense. But as far as I've been a startup founder myself, I know that's quite common when you start thinking of how to do things instead of why should I do this or why I should not do something. So building system around analytics was one of the first thing. How to make how to get the right analytics with your honestly very small team with very limited analytical tooling which we had, and with that zoo of different sources of data which we had. So the first simple system was around that. I won't go down deep into analytical system because it's not so sexy, but not so fancy. But the next system which I built, not the next, but one of those, was content machine. For example, after having 35 interviews with our customers and leads who didn't convert and didn't become customers, we found out that with the high price point of our product, majority of those who were going to convert but did not convert made this because they went to our Instagram, Facebook accounts to answer the question, are we even legit? Do we even exist? Is it scam or not? Can it really help? So we need to build trust, and the only thing, the easiest thing how to build trust was around content for us. We got that insight also on interviews. So we built a system which generates 120 reels for social media per month, plus stories, plus posts, plus comments, plus moderation of comments, and so on. So it's a small holistic system, but when you think about this not as a process, but as a system, then you are making sure that you have all the necessary resources, every team member understand what they need to do, and you understand right away when you just plan and make architecture of the system, how it will impact your results and remove those constraints.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about the content engine and the customer interviews, I really want to call out those two very specific things. Is that you didn't just pick something for the sake of picking something, is you talked to actual people and you pulled the insights out of them and you recognized the pattern from those discussions. So it wasn't just like, oh, well, everybody knows that you need to have content. No, it was, this is what our customers actually told us that they needed. And this is how we're going to test our hypothesis of what we think we understood from those conversations. So I really wanted to call that specific component out. The second point is that is a massive amount of content for people that aren't pushing that much content out. Like that is huge in a way of sending out communication
Yeah, we had
that
only one intern working on this. One intern. And
but that's the era we live in.
it.
That's the era that we live in. We live in with AI. We live in with repurposing. We live in with so many tools that can help us facilitate this. But at the same time, even if it's just one intern, that is the head count that you needed in order to accomplish and support your other efforts, right? But
Absolutely. And
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sure. So again, this system appeared not from nowhere, it appeared just because we needed it to remove constraint, because we understood that the customer journey is as is. They go to Instagram to see if we legit or not, can they trust or not. Then we ask those leads and customers, how you made the decision that we are not trustworthy, and they answered us. So this system for creating content at scale was not like just for the sake of creating content. It was not even for the sake of growing our new traffic. No, that was not the case for us. I completely understood that by the time when we will have a stable traffic flow from this channel, our startup would already die. So yeah, the only thing which our system was working on is for building that trust component. And for that reason, we did not need to have, huge team of social media managers, marketers, commenters, and creators, because it depends on the task that was the initial goal for us.
Yeah, and I think that's really great that you articulated that. Because sometimes people think social is how they're going to do their selling. And with a health product and with the population that it serves, which specifically are women, typically, right? I mean, like, we can get into definitions later, but it's people that have reproductive needs, correct?
Correct.
So we'll use that phrasing. People that have reproductive needs. Um, and the way that they seek out information and where their water cooler is and the things that that subset of people needs to think something is legit is within the context of the other things that are being marketed at them, the other places that they're just spending their time and kind of combining meeting them where they're at.
Exactly. Exactly. And for example, instead of creating tons of useless, potentially useless content, we specifically talked to our customers and we like understood that the only thing most of them need is to have two pieces of content. One, um, some doctor with the required expertise and background that is traceable and can be checked, uh, must be on our social media and must be explaining how a product works and why it works for this specific case. So that was point number one. We hired studio in New York. We made 1 day shooting session with our chief medical officer and created enough content to cover this need. And then the second point was around having some case studies of real users who are really using this product, showing how they're using it, like real profiles in social media, who doesn't seem like they were hired on Upwork to create some content, for you. So we made these two small things, just those two small things. And the big amount of content which we created was also for the sake of making that perception of big, serious, trustworthy brand, which have not just 3 pictures on the Instagram account, even with doctor, but a lot of those content were actually the same, like almost the same. There were no big, ideas, like completely new ideas, which we were talking about with every new reel. No, of course not. It was very strategical, and it's also a lot about how you are thinking about those constraints and how you can solve constraints. A lot of founders, they just sometimes say, okay, we should use social media, we should be on social media, we should be on YouTube, we should be there, we should be here. But why? What constraint it will remove, if any? Or will you be able to achieve your goals if you do this? And unfortunately, for early stage founders, in most cases, founders don't have answers to these questions. And if they hire marketers who also don't even ask those questions, then you are in a bad situation.
Yes, I love that you called out asking the right questions. Because that makes a big difference. And one of the questions that founders and social kind of I've noticed, and maybe you've seen this too, is that they feel like they need to put something different out all the time, and that's not branding. You should be bored of your brand. You should be repetitive. Just because you've said it 100 times, the amount of impressions that you got from each post is a fraction of that experience.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of success on LinkedIn specifically when some influencers, let's say, are posting almost every day, almost the same uh, picture with some kind of framework they invented, and they are doing it for weeks and months, and their account is growing and leads coming, and they have sales. So absolutely, even if you have like a lot of founders, a lot of marketers, they're just afraid to say the same thing a few times because it makes no sense. Why should I say it? This is my audience. I told them already. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, your audience never cares as much as you do.
Absolutely.
They just don't. Like and expecting them to is flawed from the premise.
They are smart, but like they have a whole life full of different things going on, and you are just small period of their day when they notice something from your brand, and then they completely forget about it.
Yeah, or maybe they remember part of it, but not all of it. And then when they do want to find you, they don't know where you are because they haven't seen you lately because you stopped saying the same thing and now they think you're someone else.
Yeah, sure. 100% agree with you. There's one tactic, again, on LinkedIn when you just need to reshare your own post. And from logical perspective, it seems like why? Makes no sense. My audience did not grow in one day. Why should I next day share the same post which I did yesterday? But it works.
It does. And even on Instagram or TikTok or these other platforms, people want to be familiar in order to build the credibility.
Yeah, that's also a big thing. So when we started making videos with our doctor, chief medical officer, OBGYN, um, who, who you can find about information on internet. She work in Mount Sinai and in some other prominent facilities, and like there's a lot of information about her. So that builds a lot of trust, not just what she says on those videos, but rather who she is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of credibility. And those are some really big name institutions that additionally lend her, expertise and just familiarity because it's so entrenched even in pop culture. Like if you say Cedar Sinai, anyone who's ever watched most TV, if they're it is commonly referenced in America. Um, so I guess one of the things that I always like to ask is that there's usually like a disclaimer, like a way that somebody gets it wrong and or misunderstands what you're trying to say. How would you characterize that? Or what is something where you're like, look, this worked for us because we did it like this, but this won't work for you because you're trying to do it like this.
Yeah, I'd say that when I start speaking about systems, and probably I also like this word because I have a huge background working for corporations. So when I start speaking systems in startup environment, I often see that startup founders or executives, they think that when you say system, it means that it is something very rigid, something solid, unchangeable, untouchable, something that, like anchor, brings you down rather than helping you go up. And that systems is something that is needed only when you are at stage of hyper growth, or taking over a huge market with high budget. But no, that's not the case. By systems, I don't mean something rigid. I don't mean micromanaging someone, bringing in some bureaucracy, because good system gives you speed, it gives clarity, freedom, and you know it, it doesn't stop you from changing and finding market fit, finding something to work. Instead, it accelerates all these efforts. So yeah, that's a quick disclaimer about systems that I'm talking about.
Yeah, for the inexperienced, it can feel like you're supposed to micromanage somebody. It can feel like, oh, we're doing it like this and that's it. And that's in a startup, that's death. You cannot be rigid and inflexible it's like an infant. Infants need to experiment, but your company needs to experiment and grow and adapt and change.
Yeah,
Um,
but when you are starting experimenting, you're just sitting with your team and you're discussing and committing to a simple system of experimenting. Like this system may have a few inputs, like we make only big swing experiments.
mhm.
For example, if you have 3 months left of runway, uh, and your unit economics is awful. There is no way that small experiments will save your startup. So you need to make huge shifts in your price and packaging funnels, whatever, and this system is just like a rule, not like a rule. It's like an input that will save your startup, will save you from running experiments, which will never help you in this current situation. And then you agree on this that part of the system is your Google Sheets table, where you have these columns and you assess those hypotheses or experiments according to, again, these rules, so that everyone's aligned and founder knows why we are doing this and marketer knows what to do. And in the end, startup or company will survive, grow, and come to prosperity, without burning out.
Yeah, and I'm going to re-emphasize that you mentioned the size of the experiment. And sometimes marketers get really fixated on meaningless experiments. Like no one cares if the button is blue or blue. Like they care, but they don't. Like you gotta do a little bit more than that. It, at some point it will matter. Once you're like super high, like you're a unicorn, you've got billions of dollars, sure, you can drill down to those fine details. But when you're a startup with 3 months runway, you're just burning cash if that's where your focus is.
Yeah, 100%. And I find myself, I can confess that I find myself oftentimes facing this problem that, I have 100 hypotheses right now, 100 hypotheses for aspect health, in which I'm 99% sure they will work. A lot of them are so easy to make, and I will be happy that they worked and we made that progress, and it's really easy to get in a situation when you start running small experiments just because you are completely sure they will work, they are easy, but in the end, when you have system and you decided that you understood and you committed that no, this will not work. I mean, for startup, not just for this experiment, then you just don't take them. I have a lot of them right now in my backlog. I can start running them right away. I know they will work. Most of them, it just makes no sense for startup in the long run, and for the startup, as a whole.
Yeah, and I love the context of priorities. Not everything is a priority. Not every experiment needs to be done in this moment.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so I think we've learned a lot about this, and I kind of want to know more about to switch gears, like where do you think the future of marketing is going? Like, do you think that that's the same as where it should go? Kind of like what's on your radar for the future?
Yeah, with all these tools that are coming now, we already have them. Lovable, ChatGPT, with all these tools, for sure, the future of marketing, I should say the nearest future of marketing, is hyper personalized, super personalized, and operationally integrated. So I don't need a lot of layers of managers and marketers to run some experiments now. They are doable now with some technical stack, with one intern under the guidance of some experienced marketer.
Yeah.
Of course, actually, it's there's a flip side. So when there was an industrial revolution, those who adopted industrial techniques were winners, of course. But when everyone already adopted all those tools that industrial revolution brought us, the market became, let's say, even. Same happens with marketing. When in 1 year or in 2 years, everyone will be publishing 25,000 reels in 1 hour. Wonderfully made, amazing reels, super helpful, and so on, But when market will be flooded with it because it becomes commodity, it becomes super cheap, then it will be a different game. But now, while we are transitioning from this old market to a new state of market of technology, that's when we have a lot of opportunity. This wave will create a lot of wealth, but it will also kill a lot of companies, startups, for sure.
Yeah. It's those mid to early level marketers that are really suffering right now in the labor market because they're expensive and people either want the top or the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's hard for leaders to be able to manage the interns with the volume of
Mhm.
work that they're doing. And so I it's always a pendulum swing, right? There's always some equilibrium that's trying to be met that's coupled with chaos. And because that's how the universe works, right? That's
Yeah,
not up
yeah,
to us. It's,
absolutely.
entropy is science. Um, so
It
I
will
think
come to balance one
something
day.
will happen or it won't. We'll find out. Um, but I think that's a really great insight that, it's operationalized. It's intertwined. It's not separate. The silos needed to come down and they continue need to come down and they will absolutely in this day and age with the tech that we have, they're just a non-starter. They're poison.
Absolutely. And during this time of period of trans of coming from the old way of doing things to a new way of doing things, uh, the content will be less and less important, and even branding probably as well, and marketing infrastructure will be the big winner now, because infrastructural things, I can say that ChatGPT is also some kind of part of marketing infrastructure now. So you can just use ChatGPT, which is marketing infrastructure, and win those who are working the old way. But yeah, in the end, again, this pendulum will go another way, and this balancing probably will never stop.
Yeah, yeah. All right, last question. What is a question someone should ask you, but they don't? And the way to think about this is what is something that is like your superpower that you really just want to talk more about? Or what is something where people are like, hey, I want to know about X, Y, and Z. And you're like, no. You need to start way back at the beginning.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people asking what to do, and nobody's asking what not to do, what they should not be doing. I'd say that probably the number one reason of the success I had in startups last years is because I always ask myself what I should not do. You know, you ask any founder have thousands of ideas, and really a lot of them are great ideas. And with that amount of ideas and that amount of things you can do, it's not about what to do, it's about what you should not do. Yeah, as I said in my previous example, that I have 100 ideas which I know will work, but probably my superpower is not in vision or probably creating systems, but about thinking of what I should not do, and instead of 10 things which I planned for today, do only one thing. I probably will spend only 3 hours on this thing, and that will be enough. And the impact will be 10 times more than if I would take my to-do list, be reactive, and do 20 things of, which are super urgent. So being proactive instead of reactive in a very sophisticated and smart way is connected to the question, what I should not do. Because what I should do is, for many people, it's about being reactive. I was
Yeah.
asked to do something by founder. That's what I'm doing. But no, you are a marketer. You must think of what will save this startup instead of thinking of what someone told you.
Yeah, you're the subject matter expert at this point. Like you are the person that was hired because you know what to say no to and what to say
Yeah,
yes to. And I think that it's really easy for marketers to have imposter syndrome or be reactive because it does seem like the world is on fire. But is it? And we can always take that like moment of intention back from a situation or an email or a text message or a Slack and ask ourselves, should we communicate through this? Should we pause? Does this need the energy that it's asking for? Um, Great. I love that advice. That's
absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I should mention that um, I'm really happy that in Aspect Health I have founders who I have now because they are asking me to challenge them.
yeah.
Like, Oleg, we don't want you to say yes when we are asking you to do something. Instead, challenge us. If you believe, you know, or that your experience tells you that it is not what you should be doing, uh, please challenge us. Even if we are, even if we are completely sure that that's what you must do, you should challenge us if you believe that we are wrong. And it it not always happens. A lot of people don't like when they hear something, when they receive some disagreement from people who work for them. So yeah, this factor is also super important, and you must be open-minded.
Yeah, I think that that's crucial and critical to a healthy working relationship. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on and talking through this stuff with me. If someone wants to find you, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Oh, LinkedIn.
Great.
I am there every day, and probably it's the only way how people can easily find me.
Perfect. And I will link that in the show notes and everywhere else. My name is Leanne. You can reach me at info@markigy, markigy.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leon.